This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Atlassian, the makers of Jira, Confluence, HipChat, and Bitbucket, helping teams everywhere team up to create what's next. Visit Atlassian.com to learn more. And by Mac Voices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like Mac Voices, Mac Voices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for Mac Voices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, once again, and we're winding down slowly but surely the road to Macstock because we will have talked to pretty much all the presenters as we go over the next week or so. And that just means we get ramped up to actually go and see all these people in person and see so many of our friends and meet new friends. This time, though, Mr. Wally Cherwinski is here with us. He's going to tell us what he's going to be talking about at Macstock. But knowing Wally and what he likes to do, I think I've got a pretty good idea. Wally, it's great to have you. Thanks for talking to us.
Good to talk with you again, Chuck.
Yeah, you have this reputation, Wally.
Okay.
Well, you have a couple reputations. The one I'm talking about.
Talk about the good one, please.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about your prowess with video. But the other thing about you is you always have the best toys. So
that's what it's all about, Chuck. Is if you're in the Mac world and the iOS world, it's really about the toys, and especially if you're a videographer. I mean, there's so many wonderful things almost every day that you read about that you just can't wait to get your hands on.
Yeah. So is this where you're going to go at Macstock? Is it going to be a video-oriented talk?
Oh, Chuck, you are prescient. Well done. Yes, I'm going to talk about iPhone videography.
iPhone videography. Okay, now we've had that topic come up on Mac Voices a few times, but seldom with anyone of your talent, and especially it's been a little while, and I know a little bit about this, that much compared to your infinite knowledge. So much changes so fast in the world of iOS videography.
Absolutely right. And in fact, when I think back. Probably about 2013 or maybe 2012, I was a little bit late to using the iPhone seriously for video. And I think I was probably using a 4S back then, and it was at Macworld, and I know you were at Macworld also. And especially on the show floor, I was shooting a lot of video with my regular camcorder in addition to an iPhone. And I was really surprised at how well that iPhone footage translated and how I could intercut it with my regular camcorder. So that was my first taste. And I knew from that there was potential there. And I wasn't sure where it was going to go. And it took me a while before I started using it in earnest for some of the projects I do. Let me give you an example. Even a year ago, just over a year ago, we were on a long trip in India and Nepal. And I usually take more than one video camera of some stripe with me. And on this trip, I had my regular camcorder, which is a handheld Sanyo, an older model. I had an iPhone 6 Plus, I had an iPhone 5S, and I had a GoPro. And at the end of the trip, I counted the clips I had shot, and I had shot 1,400 clips during that trip. And of those, half of them, 50%, were with my Sanyo camcorder, and about 40% with the iPhones. So I was mainly shooting again with my go-to camcorder. 10% or thereabouts was with the GoPro. Fast forward to this December, we were in Southeast Asia for a couple of weeks. Again, I took my Sanyo camcorder. This is my go-to standby camcorder. I used it for years. Love it. Also, this time it was a 6S Plus, my GoPro, and my 5S. Well, with my Sanyo, instead of 50% of the clips, it was 0. I shot almost everything, 90%, with my 6S Plus in 4K.
Now,
So just in those few months.
Yeah. Now, was it because of the 4K, or is it one of those symptoms of it's the camera I have with me?
Well, it was really because of the 4K. In fact, in the interim, I had upgraded from the 6 Plus to the 6S Plus, hoping that the 4K footage would be worth the extra time and effort and money. And in fact, it really was, because shooting 4K was an absolute dream.
Yeah. Yeah, I've shot some stuff. In fact, I did CES this year with a 4K GoPro.
Yeah, I saw some of your work. It was great.
Yeah, and it is surprising what a difference it makes.
Yes.
But I don't want to get we don't want to give the presentation here, obviously.
Sure.
What kind of things? I mean, because iOS videography or iPhone videography is kind of a broad topic if you explore all the disciplines within. What are you going to be covering at Macstock?
Well, I think I do want to get into a little bit of 4K. So if there are people who are lucky enough to have either the iPhone 6S or the 6S Plus or the 7, if it appears before then, it probably won't, but that's the next big thing, obviously. But with one of those phones, 4K is a real thing. Now, with 4K, that's, as you well know, 4 times the resolution of regular 1080p video. What does that mean? Well, one of the things is when you get it back home and you begin to edit it, you'll discover that you can crop a lot of your shots, and you can crop to a much smaller area on your screen. And if you export that video back out to 1080p, you haven't lost any resolution. So framing is really easy. Just frame your shot, and you can get the best portion of that frame at a later date in post. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to have. Secondly, you can do camera movements and Ken Burns effects on your 4K video. Again, that assumes that you're going to export to 1080p, because you will not be losing resolution. If you want to save a 4K video, if you have the either TV or displays to appreciate it, then of course you are going to lose that resolution. But those are really wonderful features. Plus the clarity and the crispness of the image are just great. Now there is a downside to 4K, of course, and that's size. They are a 4K clip is roughly 3 times as large as a regular 1080p clip. So if you have a small, relatively small iPhone, even 32 gig may be pushing it. But when I get an iPhone, it's usually the 128 model if it's available. And apparently they're looking at a 256 gigabyte model for the newer ones. So you do need a lot of real estate to capture all that footage. But again, if you ask me, I think it's well worth it. And you're kind of future-proofing yourself, because inevitably, as you pointed out at the outset, technology changes things and things only get better. And if you shoot in 4K now, down the road, when you want to recut that footage or appreciate it in a different way, you have future-proofed yourself.
Yeah. I didn't buy the 6S as much. I wanted the 4K, but I don't think I realized just what an amazing difference it would make. Because I've shot some stuff with it as well, and you put it up on like a 1080 screen. I mean, I have not had the opportunity to actually put it on a 4K screen, but I don't care. At the 1080 screen, the 4K video looks phenomenal.
Now, the image sensor, of course, on a phone is not going to be as big or as sensitive as something on a dedicated camcorder. So even though the footage is 4K, it probably doesn't have quite the zip and the snap of real 4K footage, but it's darn good.
Well, and there's this little matter of price. If you start trying to buy real 4K cameras, then you're talking nice pieces of change. Well,
and I used to get and I still get the question a lot, less frequently now because camcorders aren't as popular as they used to be. But people used to ask me, I'm in the market for a camcorder. What should I buy? What features should I be looking at? And my recommendation was, don't get hung up on the features. yet, because capturing the footage in the first place is the most important part. If you don't capture it, and if it isn't easy for you to use, you won't come home with good footage that you're going to build your memories from. So my mantra was always, if I can't put it in my pocket, I don't want it with me. So I always favored a small camcorder, light, portable, easy to get in and out of my pocket, and easy to get those shots and keep going. Well, guess what? The iPhone has come along and it suits those criteria perfectly. Plus, you get the advantage of the 4K, plus it's really portable and light, and it's easy to use. So anything that lowers that energy barrier for anyone to shooting more video, I think is a really good thing. People do get hung up on settings. They think if I'm a geek and I've got an SLR camera, I've got to change all these settings and I've got to fix things and I've got to make it perfect. And I always advise people, especially when they're starting in video, don't get hung up on the settings. Don't worry about them. Just focus, set your aperture automatically, and then frame your shot and let it go. The more fiddling you do, the more settings you try to make, the more shots you're going to lose because they're already gone. So just keep it really simple.
Yeah, there's some truly amazing video apps out there, but there's also a lot to be said for just shooting it with the phone's native camera app, taking advantage of all that and moving on.
One of the best ones, in fact, if you're into settings, there's something called Filmic Pro, Filmic Pro. And it has a lot of wonderful features in it. And if you really want to do that and you want to tweak your settings and you want to optimize your shots and your camera capabilities, that's the one to get. It's only about $5. It's an iOS app, really worth getting.
Got so many questions I want to ask, and I don't want you to do the session here. So are you going to be talking primarily about techniques with the iPhone, or is it going to be a little more hardware oriented? I know you have a couple show and tell pieces here for this interview.
Yeah.
Because we only have 20 minutes in these Macstock sessions, so you can't go as in depth as we both would like, but you want to give people a taste.
Well, I think I know what I want to talk about, but I confess I haven't actually rehearsed the entire presentation yet. And inevitably, you think you're going to talk for 20 minutes, and it ends up that your presentation is an hour, and then you have to decide. So right now, I guess I want to talk a little bit about the advantages and some disadvantages that you have to get around using the iPhone for videography. Secondly, some of the accessories that I think can be very useful to anyone who wants to go out and shoot some portable videography. And finally, there are a few techniques that I think might be useful to people to follow, and could make their video life a little bit easier. So I'll try to cover all of those, and whether I can squeeze that into 20 minutes, I don't know. Maybe this big hook comes out like the old vaudeville days from the side and just pulls you off. We'll see.
I think Mike said something about a taser, but maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
So, well, at the very least, you'll still be around the conference and people can pick your brain. And if you don't get through it, we'll have you back here to do something a little more in depth.
That's great. And in fact, that's often my favorite part of these kinds of things, whether it's my presentations at Macworld or in Macstock, is meeting people before and afterwards and talking about some of this stuff. It's really fun. And I love to hear what people themselves are doing with videography. And I learn a lot from them also.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Atlassian, the makers of Jira, Confluence, HipChat, and Bitbucket, helping teams everywhere team up to create what's next. Visit Atlassian.com to learn more. Today, I want to tell you a little more about Atlassian's project management software, Jira. With Jira, you and your team stand a much better chance of shipping your software on schedule because you will have a clear, detailed understanding of where your project is at any given time in the development stage. Create user stories and issues, plan sprints, and distribute tasks across the team. Prioritize those tasks so everyone can see them, and make sure everyone is on the same page with the real-time visual reporting. You can choose a workflow within Jira or create your own, since your project is unlike anyone else's, right? That's the beauty of Jira. It can be used the way you want to use it, not the way someone else thinks your project should be organized. Of course, Jira integrates with Atlassian's other terrific software, including Confluence, HipChat, and Bitbucket, to deliver a full set of services for you and your team. And don't forget about the Jira iPhone app, because not all work gets done at the office. Want to see what Jira can do for you? Visit Atlassian.com and download a 7-day free trial. I think you and your team will be convinced. That's Jira, the #1 software development tool used by agile teams, made by Atlassian. Go to Atlassian.com for more information on Jira and all their great tools for teams, and put Atlassian to work for you. Thanks to Atlassian for their support of MacVoices. Wally, do you find that having the iPhone as your video camera when you're doing this traveling, does it detract from using it for anything else? Or, I mean, I'm probably not asking that very well, but do you find yourself not using the iPhone for other things in favor of using it for the camera? Or do you carry more than one phone?
I carry more. Well, that's one of my tips, I guess. If you can afford it, when it's time to upgrade, to move up to the next iPhone, keep the one that you just had, and use it as a dedicated video camera. And in fact, that's why I kept the 5S for a long time. It was my second video camera. And then when I moved up to the 6S Plus, I kept my 6 Plus. And it's a dedicated video camera. So another thing is when you're shooting iPhone video, the batteries run down really quickly. So you might have 2.5 or 3 hours if you're shooting actively. And at the end of that, well, guess what? You can't check Facebook. You can't check your email. There's very little you can do because you've run out of battery power. So if you have a second iPhone, that's one way around it. But I don't really sacrifice other activities for the phone. No.
Okay. Just curious. Because I know how much video you shoot. Either that or you shoot it really effectively, because the things you publish are just amazing.
Thank you.
So we have some show and tell. These are some examples of things you may be showing at Macstock, or to give people an idea of what they need to get into iPhone videography.
Right. One of the things with the iPhone, of course, compared to a dedicated camcorder, is you have no zoom function. When you're using a camcorder, of course, you get used to setting up, and if it's something is far away and you want to come in a little closer and compose your shot better, well, you just zoom in. Not a problem. You're not losing resolution. You've got the shot you want in your frame. You press the button and away you go. Well, guess what? With the iPhone, it isn't quite that easy. If you want to recompose, you really have to move in closer physically to something by walking in closer or farther back, depending. But that's something you have to get used to, because with a regular iPhone and the regular camera and the regular camera app, there is only one. You can't zoom. So this is where things like lens kits come into play, because you can buy cases and lens kits for your iPhone that will enable you to zoom or to go wide angle or change the focal length, which is really good. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Now, this is my iPhone 6S Plus, and this is the olloclip lens kit on there. I know you're familiar with olloclip, Chuck. It's pretty neat, and it got neater when olloclip came out with this case. It's interesting because it has this groove along the back, and there are accessories that you can slide into this groove. This one in particular is a handheld, so when you're shooting, you can slide your fingers in there and hold your iPhone with one hand, and away you go. Or you can hold it like that, and the same thing. You can move it up, down, side to side. It's much easier to grip than trying to do this. Of course, these olloclip lenses come on and off very easily. So on this side, there's a telephoto, and on the other side, there's a wide angle. And all you do is take it off and flip it over and turn it over the other way, and it goes over your regular camera, and you can get both of those functions with it. So pretty neat device. With any device like this, it probably takes you about a week of using it before you decide how much you like it, because it's different from the regular camera you use. After a while, I got so familiar with my regular camcorder that I could bring it out of my pocket, open the viewfinder, press the button, and I was shooting in nothing flat. But with this system, it took me about a week getting the hang of flipping the lens over, snapping it on, taking the lens cap off. It took a bit of adjustment. I did find that this case and this accessory were really useful for stabilizing my shots. The other thing I found with this one is you had better bring a microfiber lens cleaning cloth with you at all times, because inevitably when you take that lens cap off, you're going to get a fingerprint on that lens. So that was one of the drawbacks of this system. But all in all, I found it worked really well. Let me show you another one.
Okay.
This is a case and a lens. The lens is attached to the case. This one is from Ztylus, and that's spelled Z or Z, depending on where you're from. Zylus, Stylus. It sounds like stylus with a Z. This is really neat because inside here there is a, let's snap a lens out. Not snapping. There we go. So your lens, this is a fisheye and a wide angle on this one. It snaps out of this part in the middle, and it really looks cool. It looks like an old Leica camera or something. It's really wonderful. You feel so cool walking around with this. But it snaps out and it covers your camera lens. And again, it gives you wonderful pictures. Now, either with this or the olloclip, you're going to see a little bit of softness around the edges of your frame. That's inevitable because these lenses aren't ultra expensive lenses. This kit is on the order of, I think, $120. The olloclip, the case itself was like $80 and the lens about $100. So a little bit more expensive, but they do give you the versatility to either go to telephoto or wide angle and change your shots completely. And of course, as I was saying before, with 4K, that makes things even better because you can shoot with 4K and then select the part of the frame you want to keep. So that's almost as good as telephoto or cropping right there. It's not going to do much about the wide because you have to shoot wide in the first place. But if you want to go telephoto, you can do that sort of with 4K. I'll show you one more. This one is from iZZi Gadgets. Here's that Z again, iZZi, as they say in Canada, or iZZi, as they would say in the US. iZZi Gadgets. This is interesting. This case was built for the 5S. So the lenses just rotate. And you can go from a fisheye to a wide angle to a telephoto. Very easy, very slick. Or you can go to a configuration where you're shooting through your regular camera. They make these things also for the 6 series of phones now, too. And they have different models. They vary from roughly $100 up to about $160, I think. Again, a really good investment. With cases like this, or even my regular cases that I carry my phone in for video, cases are really important. I would never go out and shoot video without a good case in my camera because they do tend to fall, and it's very easy to have an accident, and you will regret it. So what I look for in a case is obviously something that's strong, flexible, and gives you a good grip. But one of the critical things is something like this. That's a place where you can attach an attachment point for a lanyard or a wrist strap. I can't emphasize that enough. If you have something like that and you put, here's an example. This is my GoPro, and here's a system that gives you a little button like that you attach. And then here's the wrist strap part, and that button just snaps right in here like so. You put your wrist strap on, and you're secure when you're shooting. So you can do the same thing with your iPhone cases. As long as you have that lanyard attachment point, you're much more secure when you're shooting. I can tell you stories of shooting on the back of an elephant on the safari and losing my camera overboard, and guess what? I had a lanyard attached.
Oh.
Otherwise, I can just imagine what that iPhone would have looked like after an elephant had stepped. So, always a good thing to have.
Not many of us are going to end up on the backs of elephants, Wally, but you, not surprised at all.
But the next time you do, remember that tip.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, though, you're advocating the lanyard only for the security of shooting. You're not out there whipping your phone around or using a lanyard for any other purpose, really.
No, not really. And in fact, day to day, I will use a case something like this for my iPhone. But when I go on a trip and I want to switch into shooting mode, I will remove this case and I'll put something like the olloclip or the other case on. And they will be permanently on the phone for the duration of that trip. So yeah, I will have a lanyard attached when I'm shooting, and probably most of the time, because I don't want to take it on and off. Okay. Unless it's something like the one I showed you on my GoPro, this one, in which case you can remove it very easily. Right. So all you're walking around with is that little red button, and that's much less awkward.
Right. You live up to your reputation with the toys, no question about it.
Yeah.
The one thing I have to say, though, that the reason I think I like the olloclip so much is that with the case, absolutely, it's great. But you don't have to use the case with it. You can just use the lens.
Yes, you can.
And that's the one thing, because I still use my phone for a lot of other things, not just dedicated videography.
Yes.
And I think it was the iZZi case you said.
Yeah.
That looks wonderful, and I love the versatility and the ease of use. But I'm not sure I want. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to be sliding that in and out of my pocket with all those lenses sticking out.
Right. Well, you need that secondary iPhone, Chuck. So when you trade up, keep that one, turn it into a video camera, you're all set.
You're not helping me, Wally. That's, well, never mind how many $100. I don't want to think about it, because unfortunately I'm with you. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to want to shoot the 4K. That means I need storage. That means I need to buy the bigger model. It just keeps going on and on.
I'm always willing to help, Chuck.
Thank you so much. Will Wendy be coming down with you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so folks, you may have remembered seeing Wally's wife, Wally Cherwinski, on, I guess it's been a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago.
On MacVoices.
On MacVoices, talking about what she does. So they're both going to be there.
Yes, they are.
Along with so many of our other friends.
Well, we came to Macstock last year, as you did, and as Dawn did, and Allison and a few others. And wasn't it wonderful to get back together again with so many good friends? It was just great.
Yeah, that's been the theme. Anybody that went last year, the word friends comes up. It's so much fun to see people and to see the great presenters and to learn and then follow up with the questions. So
I know we always say it's about the community, and it's so true. It is about the community, and we all mourn the hiatus of Macworld, but Macworld was always at least one place, one time of the year where you get to see a lot of people. And I don't go to CES or NAB or even the Star Trek exhibit in Las Vegas, so I don't get to see you as much as I used to with Macworld. But Macstock, I think, filled a very important niche for people, and it gave us all the opportunity to get back together again and think geek and hang out with other like-minded folks for a few days. It's great.
And barbecue. Don't forget barbecue.
Oh,
That's
I'll never forget that. Barry did a consummate job on that barbecue.
Yes.
And I think he's got some surprises in store this year, too, so I can't wait.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Wally, for the folks that aren't familiar with your work, where should we send them to get familiar before they come to Macstock?
Well, they can check my YouTube page, my YouTube channel, which if you search for just my name, Wally Cherwinski, and they can get the spelling from MacVoices, and you just search in YouTube, you'll find my YouTube channel. I have a lot of stuff from Macworld, some stuff I've published for Don McAllister for the magazine, and a lot of other videos that I've shot over time. And you can get an idea of some of the stuff I do in there. They can find me on Twitter. I'll give you all the coordinates for your show notes, and people can track me down that way.
Great.
I'm not too hard to find.
And folks, you really should track Wally down and see some of his work. The Macworld stuff I'm obviously biased toward for obvious reasons, but some of the other stuff is just spectacular. So I'm looking forward to learning some secrets, Wally.
Well, I'll save the best ones for Macstock.
Okay. All right.
No.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm a little afraid of what it'll do to the budget, but I'm looking forward to learning the secrets.
Are you staying long after Macstock, or are you heading back right after the Sunday?
No, afraid I'm headed right back after Sunday. You know how it is.
Hardest working man in show business. I know.
Wally, thanks so much. It's great to see you, and I'll see you in Chicago.
My pleasure, Chuck. Always a pleasure talking with you. Bye.
Folks, we really do hope to see you in Chicago at Macstock. Please check out macstock2016.com, register, see who all's going to be there, add your name to the list. We'll see you then. And don't forget, barbecue. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes, links to subscribe, and to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, the MacVoices blog, the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, and on MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard that helps you do more with your Apple tech. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.